Hi all, welcome to the channel, welcome to the workshop. We now have the next 4 stages of build kit from Knight Rider. Now along with the magazines, we did get a little letter saying that the price per issue is going up by £1. It's been met with mixed reactions, I think. Probably a bit cheeky for them to raise the price halfway through a subscription. You're not going to cancel at this point. I personally am happy to pay the extra pound to hopefully avoid any issues like we had with Eagle Moss and the DeLorean. I'd rather have a built model and pay an extra pound than have a half built model sitting on the shelf and the company goes bust. But without further ado, let's get building. Okay, we're starting off this episode with issue 55. We're doing a little bit more work to the bulkhead. We've got some extra bits to attach to that. So this is what we got, and this is what we are doing. We're just, as I say, attaching extra bits to the bulkhead, and that's all we're going to need for this issue. So I've obviously pulled this out from my box from the last time we done it. Just need to open these parts and we get cracking. Okay, so we've got our parts all laid out. So the first thing we're going to be doing is we're taking our bulkhead, we're taking this piece here, and we're going to be attaching it to the bulkhead just here. There is a screw hole and a locating hole for the locating pin and the screw hole there. So that just sits on just like that. We're going to be securing it from the back with a BP screw. And that's all they've supplied in this issue, lots of BP screws. We now have the windscreen weapon opener, and again the same sort of situation. We've got a screw hole and a locating pin, so it's just a case of locating that in the right place. And again, another BP screw. And then we've also got the heater core cover, and that is going to go just in here and that way up. So we've got the screw holes there, that's going to go that way around with the pins facing out from the bulkhead. So this is going to be a case of just lining it up. There's no locating pegs or anything. We just need to try and find where the holes are when we line them up. You can see just like that. So there we go. So we've got the pins like this, and we've got that one facing upwards. Now we're going to take our pipe, and we're going to be attaching that to that pin just there. Just like that. Put that to one side for a moment. Then we're going to concentrate on the cooling expansion tank. That's what this is. So we've got the base part there, we've got the top part here. I'm just going to place those together, just like that. And then we're going to secure them together with a BP screw from underneath. And mine's not fitting together quite right, so I'm just taking off a little bit of the silver, just hopefully so it gets and fits in that recess on the other part nicely. So there's a little recess in there that you can see, which this pin needs to fit into. So, and it will close up tightly like that. So if you find that yours isn't fitting properly, then just take a little bit of sandpaper with that peg. And we've got that secured like that. And now we need to take this part, and we're going to be joining these two parts together. And we're going to be joining them together just like that. Only one of these protrusions has a hole in it, so it's that one that goes in there, just like that. And we're going to be securing it again with another BP screw from inside here. So that's looking just like that. Now we need to attach this to the bulkhead. And again, we've got two protrusions there, we've got to line those up. Just like that. And more BP screws. And that is the end of stage 55. Now we can put that to one side, we don't need that anymore for any of the other issues. Right, so moving on to issue 56, we now have the start of the driver's seat. We've got the base part here, and it's actually soft rubber. It does feel like rubber. I'm assuming it's meant to be an imitation of possibly leather. I'm not sure if there are leather seats in KITT or not. But it doesn't feel like leather, it just feels like rubber. But still, quite nice. Better than plastic seats that I've seen in other models. So we've got that, we've got the base for it, and we've got this little bit of padding that will go inside there as well. We've also got some DP screws for securing it together. The next three issues are just going to be all about the seat and attaching it to the floor pan. So let's get on with issue 56. And quite simply what we're doing is we're taking our little bit of foam, we're placing that just in there, like so, to give the seat a little bit of padding. And then we're going to be placing this part. We've got a smooth part there, and we've got the bit with all the protrusions on. We want that to go in here, and we want it to go underneath all of these tabs. And all those tabs need to pop over these little screw holes. Just like that. And then we're going to just use some DP screws to secure that. And that is issue 56 done. I'm going to move swiftly on to issue 57. As I said, we're pretty much just going to be doing the seats for the next couple of issues. So we're going to be building up more of the base. Okay, so these are the parts we get for issue 57, and the first thing we're going to be doing is getting the seat adjuster, I think it is, and we're going to be joining those two together. And it's just a case of pressing those together over that little cross. It does hold itself quite well. And then we're going to be placing that into the driver's seat. There's a peg and a slot, and we want to push those in. Now that slot, we then need to screw a BP screw into that to hold that in place. That's in just like that. Put that to one side for a second, and then we're going to be getting the base of the seat and this base plate. And we're going to be placing this part onto here, just like that. And then we're going to be putting a couple of screws in just there. And these are the DM screws, the flanged screws. And because they are DM screws, I'm just placing those into metal. and we will just, did I say metal? I meant putting them in oil. Not had enough coffee yet this morning. Right, and we do that one as well. Now I've just done that one loose. Obviously you don't want to do these up too tight because this will be this will allow the seat to go forwards and backwards. So I have seen people snap these, and I've had DM screws snap on me before as well. You really do not want to over tighten them, and if you find a bit of resistance, just back it out and then go again, because what you're doing, you're cutting the thread in the metal part, and if you do it too much, the swarf within the hole doesn't have anywhere to go, so it will snap the screw. Now, you can probably just see actually this plate does protrude quite a bit through there, so that's never ever going to be tight. I expected it to be a bit tighter than that, because that in the car is just going to go quite loose forward and backwards. So let's see whether that improves at all when it's in here. Can't say it does. So I think before I go too far, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to see if I've got a couple of little washers that might just go in there, just to tighten that up a little bit. I'll be back in a moment. Unfortunately, I didn't have any washers for this, so stop that from rattling around. I do, however, have a bit of this high density foam. You may have got some that come in a packing crate or something like that. Always keep hold of that stuff because it's always useful. What I'm going to do, I'm going to place 2 bits that I've cut just there, so that when this is sandwiched on there, it will ride along the screws, pushing them against this bit of plastic, and therefore hopefully stopping the seat from just being able to wiggle around like that. So I'm going to see how well that goes, and that is the next step. We are going to be attaching this to the base of the seat using some BP screws. Going to be a little bit more difficult for me because I've now got to compress that high density foam. Right, so there we are, and as you can see, it doesn't slide around on those rails, but it is still possible to move it forward and backwards. But as you can see, no wobble. Happy with that little fix. Right, moving on to the next stage, which is stage 58. So, stage 58, we're going to be continuing with the driver's seat. These are all the parts we get, including this tiny little logo that we got to stick on. It is a domed logo, it's quite nice, it's not just a standard sticker. So I'm just going to put that on there for a minute. So the first thing we're going to be doing is assembling the back, and like we did the base, we're going to put this little bit of foam in there, and again we've got this part that's going to slot underneath all of these tabs, just like that, and then we're going to secure that with some BP screws. Sorry, we're not going to do BP screws. We've got a mix of MP and LP screws. So we've got MP screw here, and then the rest are LP screws. So just starting off with the MP screws, one in the very top, one in the middle there, and then the rest are LP screws. Just like that. Next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be attaching this to the base, and I'm going to do that just by slotting it in like that. And we're going to be using a BP screw to secure that in place just through that hole there. So that is now secured to that. And then we're going to make up the rest of the back. This piece here. I'm going to use 2 BP screws through here. So one in there. And one just in there. And then we're going to place this cover at the top, just 2 pins will hold that in place. Just like that. And then we've got this piece here, and we're just going to slot that into the holes on the side of the seat. Just like that, leaving us one hole for a BP screw. Just like that. So we've got the seat that will now tilt forward and backwards. Just like that. We need to put the logo on the seat here. I'm just going to grab my set of fine tweezers for this. So looking just like that. Now the final thing we have to do for this stage and this issue, the set of issues, is grab our floor pan, and we're going to be attaching this to the floor pan. We've got 4 locating holes for the pins on the bottom of the base. They're just going to go in there like that. We're then going to turn it over, and we're going to use 2 GM screws to hold that in place. Just rest it like that for a moment. And again, just a little bit of oil will help these go in and cut their thread. And there we have it. So that is the driver's seat attached to the floor pan now. That's all built up and it's looking pretty good. Just one thing to note, I think the instructions show that the badge is a little high, so I have actually moved this since positioning it, and you can see it sat just on that little line within the seat. So that's where I believe it goes on the original seats. So it might be just worth moving it down and just placing it there in the centre. So that's kit done for this month. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up. If you want to check out the rest of my channel or see whatever else goes on in the workshop, please remember to hit that subscribe button and ding that bell for future notifications. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll hopefully see you on the next one. Cheers.